Hi guys, Conor here again for Fortune Intelligence. Today I'm going to be talking about knowing whether you've gained muscle or not in an off season. So tracking progress as people are trying to get leaner is generally a bit of an easier task. You can go look at photos and you can actually see decent changes week to week, definitely within 2 to 3 weeks. You can look at the scale, you can look at calipers, you can look at circumference sites. There's a lot of different tools to see if you're going leaner, and the visual changes happen a lot quicker. As for muscle growth, it's a bit of a slow process. I think it's a pretty fair statement to make that gaining, other than being a beginner, gaining muscle is probably more of a difficult task than losing body fat. So with determining if you've gained or not, that visual process can take a while. Sometimes it might take 6 months to notice decent changes, especially because body fat's probably went up because you're probably in a caloric surplus. So one way you can check is, a contest photo from one year, a contest photo next year. Yeah, that's going to be accurate, but we probably want to know earlier. Let's say that whole year we saw no changes. It would have been really handy for us to know after month 1, after month 2, that we're not making any progress, so we can change things around to make progress. So if the circumference, it can work with circumference. I think one good sign is let's say your arms, your chest, your torso, your thigh, your calf is all going up, but in a higher ratio than your waist, or basically areas where you associate more body fat coming up. Can be a handy tool, but I wouldn't go off it alone because you're going to gain fat everywhere. You're not going to just gain the waist, you're going to gain the legs, the chest, the arms, all that stuff. So it's handy with the addition of a lot of other tools, but as a standalone, I wouldn't back it 1,000%. And then we can go to the next one, calipers. It doesn't really test muscle too well. It can tell you how much fat you're gaining, and then you can correlate that with scale weight and see, okay, what percentage of what I'm gaining is fat. But then again, that's really hard to tell. It sounds good in practicality. Sounds good in a theoretical sense. In a practical sense, no one goes off and does the numbers, and there's a few more variables to where food goes and weight goes than just muscle and fat, for example. I think the main elephant in the room is, which most people use, is performance. So there's many systems out there to say, okay, I'll give one example. I'm not going to use a name, but your 1RM has went up 50 kilos, you probably gained 10 kilos of muscle mass. Is that true? It can be, and it could also not be. So with an increase of strength, there's a few different ways that could have been done. For example, you could have gained more muscle, or you could have got more efficient at lifts. They're the two main brackets. There's a million sub-brackets off there. Greg Nuckols has done a great article about it, but that's not the topic of today. So 1RM, that strength went up. Could have been because there's more, total surface area muscle. It could not be. Okay, so how do we get more away from that neural efficiency and just say, okay, it's just muscle? Well, suddenly if you're up the rep range, it's probably more reliable. So now, instead of your 1RM squat going up, let's say your 8RM squat has went up. It's a decent sign. There still can be a few variables. You're getting better at the lifts, you're getting better at pausing between the reps, you learn to dive bomb better, a lot of different variables. Let's say you do that for multiple sets. Okay, we just got a bit more credible again that we've gained muscle. And then best yet, if your isolation exercises have went up for multiple sets in a moderate rep range, you're really running out of reasons why you haven't gained muscle for the rationale of the improvement. So way I like to, for example, with clients, make sure you gain muscle is, okay, let's say you're still doing squats, just stuff like this, but for quads, let's say we also decide to do a 3x10 leg extension. It's fair to say the knee extensors are the only thing that's really going to work there. And let's say week 1 to week 3 we improve, maybe via that neural efficiency we're talking about. Week 3 we pretty much nailed the movement. Let's just pretend there's no glaring issues. They picked up movement pretty quick. They're going to be as good as they're going to get at a leg extension after week 3. So let's say week 7 to week 8, their performance in, again, that multiple sets, moderate rep range has went up again. I just don't see the equation where neural efficiency has gone up that much. It's usually a result of muscle gain. So I think if you're trying to track, has progress been made? seeing if there's changes in more isolated exercises where there's less areas to improve technique for greater reps across greater sets usually does paint much greater correlation that muscle gain has been accrued. Doesn't mean your whole training should be biased around that, or that 1,000% of the time specificity applies with to get better at isolation you got to do isolation. Sometimes it doesn't work like that. Maybe it's those 6 to 8 rep squats that increase that, but it's a good way of tracking to make sure you know you gain muscle. So I'd usually recommend for guys to keep in one exercise for like a while, try and get better at it if it's in isolation, and that could tell you a lot of things. If you really, really, really want to make sure it's muscle, what you do, you maybe have 1-2 mesocycles of leg extension, and then let's say, you get rid of it for a few. If you come back to that and you're already way better at it than you were before, you're not more nearly efficient at it. You're probably worse, if anything. And your performance is up, you've gained muscle. I think you're running out of reasons and really trying to just really grasp at straws for reasons why you haven't gained muscle. So guys, if you want to know you gain muscle, yeah, use a scale, but it is more of a long-term measure. Use circumference, use visual, use, feeling, food, partitioning, all that stuff. But again, the best thing is performance, and the best thing with the subcategory of performance is more isolated exercises for more high reps, for more sets. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed that.